In this week's video, we're going to talk about how and why we exchanged our home for living in an RV full-time. What exactly do we mean by exchanging our house for an RV lifestyle? Well, we didn't exactly find somebody who had an RV and they wanted to live in our house, and basically we swapped.
Boy, that would be nice.
Yeah, not really. What we did is we swapped expenses, and originally our thought was to sell our home, and up until 3 months ago, we still were thinking of selling our home, but being in the real estate business, we started to think about it, and exchanging a appreciating asset for a depreciating asset is just not a wise decision, and especially in the market right now, at least in Arizona. It's a pretty hot real estate market.
Oh, and then another thing is not only about the asset piece, it was also somewhat about the comfort level, and also about the fact that we liked our house, we liked our community, and that's where we were kind of struggling a bit. We didn't necessarily want to cut our tie to our house and our community. We just wanted to leave for a while and do the things that we wanted to do in an RV.
Yeah, we've reached retirement age and we want to travel around. As I said in the introduction video, we do live in an active adult community, so there is plenty of things to do. It's not for a lack of adventure there. It's more for traveling and getting out and just doing something different for a while. And since we're still able to do that health-wise, why not take advantage of that?
We started about a year ago looking at expenses at our house, what we had in our house. It didn't matter if we were selling our house or renting our house, the same things had to happen. We started looking at debt that we were able to get rid of. We started looking at duplication of things. We had, you think about dishes, you think about clothing, you think about all those things, and we started realizing that we, number one, didn't want to store all these things if we needed to be out of our house. We definitely couldn't take all these things with us, so we ended up selling things. We ended up donating a lot of things. We made multiple runs, sometimes 2 or 3 in a day, to Goodwill to get rid of our things. And we just started consolidating and simplifying our life, which is really what we were looking to do. So the first time we went to Goodwill with our clothes, we went through our closets, took all these things out, and ended up being these piles and piles of clothing that we ended up shoving into the back of our Jeep, and it took almost our entire Jeep. We could barely get in ourselves, but we took that to Goodwill, which was 2 of those big baskets full. It was ridiculous how much we had in clothing that we really never even missed after we got rid of it, and we still have clothing we could probably get rid of now.
Yeah, the RV lifestyle is a lot more casual than when you're working and you have office attire and formal attire that you would be using at different places.
And even for me, as a remote worker, I need my shirts, but it doesn't really matter what I wear from the bottom down. I need to comb my hair, which I don't always do. So, but yeah, it's a much more casual. We didn't need all those things that we had when we had to go in the office. Like, you think about the shoes, and I had blouses and things like that.
And there's a lot of bigger items that you could downsize also. So we were a 2-car family, and now we're reduced down to 1 car. And what that does is it eliminated a car payment, it eliminated maintenance and fuel on the car, it eliminated insurance.
It was actually, that was probably one of the harder things for me, because I had my car for quite a few years. I had planned on having my car for many more years, and so I had it in the garage. We had it on a battery tender for all of last summer when we were away, and then I think I used it a few times, but it pretty much was sitting in the garage. It just didn't make sense, but it was that was one of my things. It was easier probably to get rid of clothes than it was to get rid of my car.
Yeah, as you go through this process yourself, you're going to find you want to hang on to things, and after a while you find that you don't want to really hang on to them, and it's a process to go through, divorcing yourself from things that you've carried around for years, and basically we've reduced down to just things that have memories and keepsake. We did put stuff in storage, and we did rent our house partially furnished, so that was a big help. We live, like I said, in an active adult community, and there's usually a need for people who are snowbirds or what have you to come to a home that's furnished.
We also did got a photo frame. I got a very simple one, but one that I could. We digitized a lot of our photos. I just got a scanner, and I just sat and I had, because we had photos around our house that we were going to have to put into storage or get rid of, so I put some of the things that were framed, put them away, but I wanted to have them so I can look at them. And actually I really like this because it's many more photos than I could have otherwise in my home. We only had a small amount of them, and that way it's always changing, and we're seeing it, and when our kids come over they see when they're growing up and stuff. It's kind of cool. So that was one thing I'm really glad that I took some time to do that.
Yeah, I think, for me, being a former engineer, everything I think about going into the RV is weight and balance, and it is very important from a safety standpoint, and everything weighs. I mean, you don't realize how much stuff weighs until you start loading your RV up with your possessions from home, and some things just don't make the cut. And one of the things we did is we actually stayed in our local community for the first couple of months so that we can make trips back to the storage and place things that we really find that we shouldn't have brought or we won't be using.
And we'll be making a trip tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a tough process to separate yourself from these possessions, but once you start living the RV lifestyle, you find you use the same few things over and over and over and develop a pretty easy casual routine.
The other thing is, then we talked about our expenses, and I created a spreadsheet, because I do that all the time, but created a spreadsheet with our house expenses, and then the things that we're paying for now that would have to continue regardless of where we lived, and that way we could kind of separate and see what the house really was costing us every month. And those things included the mortgage. We had RV storage because we had to store our RV, we were not living in it. We had HOA payments, the city payments for garbage, gas, just all of those kinds of internet that we would have to exchange for something different. So all of those expenses got added together, and that gave us just a baseline of what does this house really cost just as a house, and that helped us figure out if we were going to be able to rent it, because since we had gone down that path and rents have gone up so much, we were able to rent it for that and still have some cash flow above and beyond that, which is going to help us if there are repairs, which there will be with the house.
Yeah, so when I look at your spreadsheet here, and if you're interested in a copy of this spreadsheet, leave a comment below and we'll send you it. But once you subtract those two things out, you can see exactly how much money you have to spend on the RV life. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. The variables are going to be what kind of RV you're traveling in, and then also where you're staying, whether you choose to stay in campgrounds or RV resorts, or there's 1,000 trails out there where you buy a membership and then you can stay for up to 21 days at some of their properties, and then you move to another one at no charge. There's also clubs. We belong to the Escapee RV Club, and with that membership we can stay at one of their sites in Texas, and it's a little more than $350 for a month. So what we found out was staying at RV places monthly is the way to go.
For us, and the reason I say for us is because we are We found out after a trip through, I don't know, 7 or 8 states over 2.5 weeks, couple of years ago, that was not the way we wanted to RV. A lot of people do like to move around a lot. We don't want to do that. We want to stay for a while. We want to meet, kind of become part of the community, both the community if it's in a small town, which we go to a small town in the summer, or even the RV community, because there are other people who are there for the month or for the season.
There's a lot of different ways to do it, but if you're truly looking to exchange one expense for another expense, you really need to run those numbers and see exactly what lifestyle and what changes you're willing to accept to do it. We hope you found this information helpful, and if you would like to see more of our videos as we progress down this journey, please like and subscribe. Also, if you'd like a copy of Corinne's spreadsheet on how we separated our expenses, leave a comment below and we'll help you out in any way we can. And we look forward to seeing you in our next video.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.